There's a lot of talk that goes on the internet about what is the best pet snake you could have. Channels like Clint's Reptile Room, maybe even a little bit of Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles with Adam. But I don't think any of them have ever definitively answered the question of what is the best pet snake. And obviously that question has some nuance. It depends on what you're looking for. You might want a smaller snake. You might want a bigger snake. You might want a snake that needs a lot of humidity that you can do a cool rainforest bioactive build for. You might want a desert species that you could get some UVB going and some sand and diurnal, nocturnal. There's a lot of different factors to consider. But generally speaking, I want to go over a snake that I think is criminally underestimated, underrated, unrepresented. Actually, shout out to Clint because he actually did do a video on this snake and he actually rated it very high too. So shout out to him, but he's probably the only other one I've seen that's really put the spotlight on how great of pet snakes these guys are. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about one of my favorite snakes, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think it is the best pet snake you could possibly get. I'm Ren. This is my bull snake, Bjorn. This is Northman Serpents. Let's get to it. So like I stated in the intro, I want to go over bull snakes, well, Pituophis snakes, which include bull snakes, pine snakes, and gopher snakes. I'm probably going to be referring to bull snakes a lot because that's what I have. That's what I keep. That's what Bjorn is. But I also have a lot of experience with pine snakes and gopher snakes as well. Both those species are snakes that I have been catching longer than I can remember. They're one of the first snakes I ever caught in the wild. One of my favorite snakes to find in the wild. Just know that unless I specify otherwise, anything I say about bull snakes applies to pine snakes and gopher snakes. And before we get into this, you can't see Bjorn very well, and that's because he is chilling in my hood. You know, there's a reason, and it's so. You got a colubrid that'll hang out with you like a ball python if you put the work in. Now, if you even resemble a responsible animal keeper, one of the main concerns you're gonna have when looking for a pet is their ease of care. And are you gonna be able to care for the snake and give it what it needs? And bull snakes and Pituophis snakes are among the easiest if you live in the United States, North America, England, in the UK. I'm assuming they have similar climate, but these snakes are native to the United States, and chances are if you live in the US, northern Mexico, southern Canada, there's a very good chance that you have these snakes living feet outside your door. You're living side by side with these snakes and you might not even know it. Their range is huge, and you can find bull snakes mainly in the middle of the country, from Canada down to Mexico, Texas, Midwest, Minnesota, I believe Illinois in the east, to western Montana in the west, and from Canada down to Mexico in the north and south. Pine snakes are going to be on the east coast. You got Louisiana pine snakes. You got Ocean County pine snakes in New Jersey. You got black pine snakes in Georgia and areas like that. Southern Florida pine snakes in where else? Florida. And then on the west coast, you got your gopher snakes. So where I live in Washington State, we have Great Basin gopher snakes. Those run down to California as far as I know, and then Southern California, you got your San Diego gophers. You'd be hard pressed to find an area in the United States without a Pituophis snake. So their care is incredibly easy. They don't have these wild humidity parameters, these temperature requirements. I obviously don't recommend you do this, but you could keep them alive in a cardboard box in your house, because chances are the climate of your home is going to be the climate that these snakes would live in. Now, depending on where your particular flavor of Pituophis is from, maybe adjust it a little bit, but their enclosures aren't hard either. You're going to have a substrate they can burrow into. You're going to have a heat light, 30 to 50% humidity, a little higher when they're shedding. Temperatures, cool side is going to be Bjorn. He likes his low 70s on the cool side, mid 80s on the hot side. People stick to care guides, which is valid, but ultimately they are guides, not strict. Snakes are individuals like us. I like to be cozy and warm when I sleep. My fiance is like the ice queen, and it's December and she has a fan and the AC running. But if you want a care guide on these guys, let me know. I'd be glad to do one. I only maybe have 1.5 downsides for these guys, and it's definitely not their care. So, secondly, you might be asking, well, Ren, what about my options? I like bull snakes because I can get a mocha latte pumpkin spice ball python. Bull snakes and Pituophis snakes surprisingly give you lots of options as well. Now, the wild types are beautiful by themselves, but I understand wanting to get a stunning snake that's going to stand out, be impressive to your friends. And there's lots of morphs to choose from. And unlike ball pythons, there's also lots of localities that have different looks as well. And locality snakes are something I really enjoy. Fedar, my reticulated python, he is a Calatoa, which has a different look, different size. Bjorn here is not necessarily a specific locality, but he is a white-sided bull snake. So generally, bull snakes you find in the wild are going to be black and brown, maybe some yellows. He is white and black with pure white sides, no pattern on the sides, and a strip of black and gray white pattern going down his back. This is also true for pine snakes. But then in pine snakes, you have a lot of localities too. So the Ocean County pine snakes from New Jersey are gonna be a black and white snake. They're super cool, stunning snakes. You got black pine snakes that are pure black. You think like oversized Mexican black king snake. You have leucistic pine snakes that are gonna be pure white. You have albinos that, like hognoses, are gonna be kind of like a pink or red, or sometimes yellow. They can vary a little bit, but you got San Diego gophers, that's a locality. So many options. Some of my favorites for bull snakes are the Kingsville Reds, the Crumbly Reds. It's like a fire red bull snake. It is so cool. I'm definitely gonna get one of these days. Hey, Bobo. Yeah, tons of options. Almost any color, anything you want, you can get it. Gorgeous, stunning snakes. A little side note, they are a keeled scale species. So like hognoses, they have a different feel. They have more like a rough texture to their scales. Yeah, amazing snakes. Now 3 could be a pro or a con. Kind of depends on what you're looking for. Me, I like bigger snakes, so I count it as a pro that these are big snakes. These are big colubrids. They are colubrids, so they're not pythons, they're not boas, but they are a hefty snake. Bjorn here is only a year old, year and a half, and he's already almost 4 feet, 200 and something grams. But yeah, they are a heavy-bodied colubrid. They can get up to, let's say, 8 feet. They generally get to about 5-6 feet. But that's the cool part. That brings us back to the different species of Pituophis. So your pine snakes are going to be big. They're not going to get quite as big as bull snakes. Bull snakes are the biggest of the Pituophises. You know what I mean. Yeah, your bull snakes are gonna get the biggest. Pine snakes, maybe a little smaller, not by much at all. Your gopher snakes are gonna get a little bit smaller, 4 or 5 feet. But yeah, they're big snakes, which is nice. It's not as easy to injure them if you're a newer snake owner. And I don't know, there's something about a substantial snake that I love. Con, if you're looking for a smaller, I'd say a hognose would be good if you like everything about this snake but the size, because hognoses kind of have that same feel with the keeled scales. So yeah, they definitely get to be big. Something interesting about Pituophis snakes and morphs is that the first morph that was captive bred on purpose was a gopher snake. Back in 1947, they bred an albino gopher snake, and that is the first recorded captive bred morph that was, bred on purpose for its looks. That's what kind of started the whole morph craze. This is going to be another one that could be pro, could be a con. Kind of depends on what you're looking for. And that is their temperament. These guys have quite the undeserved reputation for being mean snakes. I don't see it that way. And they're definitely not. They're definitely not mean snakes. They actually are very unlikely to bite. I don't think I've ever been bit by one, but they do have quite the impressive defensive display. They imitate rattlesnakes very well, and they will stand up, they will hiss, they will let you know that they're not happy. Unfortunately, this actually is a detriment to them in the wild a lot because people think they are rattlesnakes. They look very similar, and their hiss sounds like a rattlesnake. They even rattle their tail in the leaves, and that also sounds like a rattlesnake. So that can be intimidating for some people. Or if you're like me, I enjoy the spicy ones. I enjoy the ones I need to tame down. And it's important to note that not all bull snakes are even like this in captivity. I was actually slightly disappointed because I've never even heard Bjorn hiss besides at his prey. But he's never hissed at me. He's rattled maybe twice since I've had him. And is generally just a sweet boy. So it's kind of the luck of the draw. I know for a fact wild ones have an attitude, but it's all a show. It's all a bluff, and it's all just to get you to leave them alone. And it's important to remember that it's because they're scared that they're doing this. But if you want a snake that you can work with and get the gratification of making progress, seeing the difference of them go from spicy to tame to I'll open his cage and he will come up looking for me. Me and Bjorn have a great relationship, a strong bond. As you can see, he's been chilling in my hood most of this video, so. And that brings us to number 5, which is no feeding problems. If any of you have had ball pythons, you know how frustrating it can be when your snake doesn't want to eat. And if you're a newer snake owner, it can be terrifying, really. Because if you're used to keeping mammals, them not eating for a month is a problem, like a huge problem. Snakes, not so much, but it's definitely unsettling. So that being said, if your bull snake isn't eating, it needs to go to the vet, because these guys eat like boas. They will eat anything. You can feed them pieces of chicken, you can feed them quail, you can feed them obviously mice and rats. If you get a baby, you're gonna start them on mice. Bjorn's only a year old. He's already worked up to quail and rats. He's on rat pups now, so 2 steps up from the smallest rat. He loves food. That's why I'm target training him, because his feeding response is great. I will say I don't worry about getting food response bites with him, because he loves his food, but he's also conscious of what he's eating, so he'll take the time to ID it first. But there's a couple times where I put my hand in there and I'm like, hold on, boy. But yeah, he's super sweet boy. I love that he'll eat anything. If I got leftovers from one of the snakes didn't eat, Bjorn, throw it in there. Yeah, that's one less thing to worry about with your pet snake. But yeah, that's essentially gonna do it. Now, obviously, I can't tell you definitively this is the best pet snake for everyone, but in my experience, these have to be up there, and I don't know why I know why they're not in the conversation with corn snakes and ball pythons, and it's because they're defense display. They can be a little intimidating, I understand that, but if you can get over that and understand that it's just a bluff, they're amazing. 100% amazing snakes. So if you have the room to give a bigger active snake the space it needs, and you're not afraid of a little hissing, get a bull snake. You're not gonna regret it. I can promise you that. They are fulfilling in so many ways. They're so fun to watch, fun to feed. One of my absolute favorite snakes in the world. I will say, ever since having Vidar, my reticulated python, he is giving Bjorn a run for his money. He's a very fun, rewarding snake to have too, but maybe I'll do a video on that once I've had a little more time with him. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it, and I am home, kid-free. Fiance's at work, so me and Bjorn are gonna hang out and play some video games and relax, because that's a pretty rare occurrence. So we're gonna get on and enjoy our night. But if you learned something, if you liked hanging out with us, don't forget to subscribe. I'll have lots more videos coming out soon. Like the video, leave me a comment. What do you think the best pet snake is? What's your favorite snake that you've had? Or if you're thinking about getting a snake, what are you looking at getting? And is there any chance that I've at least made you consider getting one of these beautiful snakes with their terrifying attitude? They're just menacing. Look at them. I hope you all have a great day, great night. Be good to your animals, be good to each other, and I will see y'all in the next one.